afternoon, good evening, perhaps good morning if you're joining us from across the world. It is Motivational Monday, and today's a little bit of a different session. I've been having lots of different sessions lately, but this week in the US and Canada, anyways, is Father's Day on Sunday. So not sure how you spend your time celebrating dad, if you are close to him geographically, if you are far away. But there's lots of different ways that you can help dad improve how he works, rests, and plays. I've been saying that for years. It sounds like a squeaky wheel. A little bit about Father's Day. First observance of Father's Day in the US anyways was on July 5th in 1908 at the Williams Memorial Methodist Episcopal Church in Fairmont, West Virginia. That's like a whole sentence in itself. Which this held a special service. It honored 360 men. Most of them were fathers, and they had died in a coal mine explosion 7 months earlier. While Father's Day was acknowledged for years after, it didn't actually become official in the U.S. until 1966, until President Johnson issued the first presidential proclamation honoring fathers and declared the third Sunday of June each year as Father's Day. This day expresses respect, honor, and love towards fathers and acknowledges efforts and the role of fathers in our society. Now that we've had a little background history on Father's Day, let's shake things up a bit with some deals for dad. And today I wanted to talk about, I was trying to think about dads and all the dads in my studio days. And it's not even just dads, it's guys. At a certain point in our life, you've been working too much, sitting too much. And an area of common concern for my dads is low back pain and tension, weakness, lack of flexibility. There's a number of reasons that creep up over the years, that start to present deficiencies on our bodies. So I'm going to do a vibration plate demo on 3 positions. What position may work best for you or your back? It's really going to vary based on your condition, your body type, the length of your torso. We're all different. And if we weren't, the trainer's job would be a lot easier and I could cookie cutter things much more. So I'm going to go through 3 exercise positions, feel good, depends how you apply them in your program, that you can do on your machine at home. And I want to highlight a few other tools that you can use either in conjunction with your vibration plate, perhaps on the go, and mention that there's a really good deal going on with Lifepro deals for dad. And I'm going to have my girl Lauren drop a link so you guys can see what's on sale. And there's going to be items throughout the week. I would like to know where you're from. If you are shopping for dad and your dad's dealing with some issues and he has a plate, or you've been thinking about getting him a plate, feel free to drop a question today. Like I say, let me know where you're from. I'm always curious, and if there's any questions I can give you specific to your dad, specifically, I'm going over some back stuff today, but I do invite general questions. So giving the gift of health is great, but if he's never used a vibration plate, maybe there's a few tips that I can offer you today to help him getting started effectively. So let's walk our way over to the machine. I'm also going to invite those questions towards the end of this session. So if you are joining me and you have a question, I will get back to the screen where I can read it more closely after I get through the demonstration here. So today I am working on my old faithful Rumblex Plus 4D. I do all of my demonstrations in oscillating mode, and I've had a couple questions this week. Why do you do that? Oscillating, what is that? It's the type of movement, and there's lots of different ways that vibration machines out there move, but only one moves like we do, which is oscillating. It's also referred to pivotal, side alternating vertical, teeter-totter. It mimics how we walk, but there's less movement with a machine than there is our actual step, so you're getting less impact, whatever it is that you're doing on the machine. For today's exercises, I'm going to give you guys 3 options. Depending on your back and what your range of motion allows. When you're dealing with a low back, I would recommend, if you are dealing with chronic issues, pain is prominent, or you're just really tight after a long day, don't stand with your feet too far apart. I nag this in all of my sessions, but you don't need to stand wider to get more benefit. What you get when you stand wider is more movement or more impact. I'm looking dark. I did not turn my lights on. Give me 1 second here to brighten my world a bit. But you are always in control with the position of your foot. So when you're standing on a vibration plate, if your feet are wider, you're moving more. If your feet are closer, you're moving less. So depending on how you're feeling in the moment, if you are dealing with chronic issues, make sure you've got a comfortable bend in your knees. The taller you stand, the more you're going to drive the movement up to the head. It's absolutely not harmful. When my kids were little, they do this for hours, and it's not harmful. We harm ourselves in guarding and protecting naturally, and our body's really lazy, so we have a tendency to kind of tense up and resist the vibration. And all we're really doing is increasing the shake. We're rigid, and we're not accepting the movement. So just be relaxed. If you're feeling it too much in the neck or the head and you're not used to that yet, bend your knees a little bit more and you'll see that it pretty much dissipates completely. So again, if we're not comfortable, bring those feet closer to the center. I would suggest for the exercises we're doing today, no more than hip width apart. We're not doing Taekwondo training, or we're not doing wide squats. So I want you to think functional, especially if you're dealing with a low back. We don't need to challenge it just yet. What I want you to do, and my guys do not love doing this position, but it's very important. You lose a lot of flexibility and range of motion, and it affects your exercises. It affects your quality of life. It affects getting up out of that chair, which you do hundreds of times a day. So what I want you to do is a pelvic tilt, and all you're doing is hips only. We're not moving our legs. We are just going to tilt our bum forward, hold it for 2 to 3 seconds, and we're going to try tilting it back. You may only get a half to an inch of range of motion, but on the back swing, you're going to feel a little tightness in the low back. Tilt it forward 3 to 5 seconds in each of these variations, regardless. If this is uncomfortable or you don't like it, another variation could be just rolling your hips around. All I'm trying to do is loosen up the low back before I do the next thing to it. So just get a little movement, a little circulation and lymph going. We're oxygenating our blood, and you'll probably feel a bit of an energy boost. So everything I'm showing you today, outside of my talking, the position itself, 2 to 3 minutes whenever your back's giving you grief, maybe as a preventative piece as you're heading out for the office for the day, or maybe before or after a game on the course to improve your range of motion and your game, hopefully, in the long run. So the variation I wanted to do, we're doing this pelvic tilt, or we're going to do some circular motions, anywhere from maybe a minute to a minute and a half. Once you feel a little bit loose, you might even feel a little bit warmed up temperature-wise. I have a stool here. If you're dealing with poor range of motion or a tender back, I want you to either have your machine by the wall just to give your fingertips something to hang on to, the back of a chair perhaps. I always have my stool here for those of you that have poor mobility. Feel free to take a seat if you're getting fatigued at all. But what I want to show you now is how to target that low back. If you have poor mobility, range of motion isn't there, and you're not getting it down for some of the exercises we'll progress to next, I want you to just straighten your legs up, not completely. You want to make sure those knees are undone. And we're just sort of leaning over at a 45-degree angle, and you should feel the vibration shift from the movement being felt in the quads to the low back and the hip region. Now, where you feel it specifically, you can really manipulate your angles and play with your position to target the spot. You might tell me that, my low back bugs me, but maybe it's a little off to the left, or maybe it's a little off to the right. So I encourage you to kind of wiggle around, play with the movement of your spine, tuck the pelvis forward, backward, experiment in this basic position until you target that sweet spot that you want to get that relaxation and loose tension area into. If you do have a stool or a counter, you could go a little bit further. You're going to lose balance if you don't have something in front of you at this point. It really depends on where the issue is. You can push yourself slightly backwards, and you'll feel a little bit more up towards the mid-back. But for the most part, this position targets the lumbar, and it's a great way to relax. You could do something like this 4 or 5 times a day. Use these exercises for a minute or two passively as a spot treatment whenever you need a fix. If you have back issues, we're talking back issues today. I have 3 basic exercises I want to give you as options. If you have concerns or this is an area you're dealing with, whether it's you or your dad, post a question and I'll get to those at the end and answer them individually. So the next variation I want to show you, if you've ever been to a yoga or a Pilates class, whether you have or not, most of you are familiar with what a cat-cow is. So a cat-cow can be done 2 ways on a vibration plate. On the ground, this is going to require some range of motion. There are standing variations, but this is going to require you to not only get down on the ground, but to get back up off the ground. Often if we're lacking mobility, stability, that general range of motion and strength in the legs is not there. It's never the getting down on the ground. It's the getting back up. So make sure you know your limits and don't overdo what I'm outlining today. 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes max. Some of these exercises feel really good and it would be easy to go your preset 10, 15 minutes, but it's a very easy way to overdo it. And then you're going to be mad at me the next day for doing too much. So keep within basic starting guidelines and progress from there. For this one, sorry, we're going to be putting our knees directly on the plate. So you'll want to have a mat to cushion, depending on the type of surface that your machine has. We're going to put our knees on the machine, and we're going to lean over in front and put our hands on the floor. And what this does, as opposed to when you're standing on the plate, this is another variation. You'll just get it a little bit more direct to the hips. We're moving the hips and the spine in a side-to-side motion, whereas when we lean over and we change our angles a bit, we're now turning the hips and the low back in this motion. And this is one of those great examples where I want you to just experiment, see what feels best for you. And you know, sometimes you need to change your exercise because your condition has changed. It's improved. It's gotten worse. You overdid it on the golf course on the weekend. So from this basic position, you know, 30 seconds to a minute will certainly offer lots of relief. If you're finding it's too intense, bring the knees a little bit closer. You'll find the slower to mid ranges on this type of an exercise are a little bit more tolerable. We're not standing on it. You don't need those fast speeds. If it's too choppy, I think you'll find a mid-range most comfortable. But if you're finding it too aggressive, just like when you're standing, bring your knees a little bit closer or widen them up if you want more shake. Really depends on your tolerance. And you might find, you know, 30 seconds, a minute in as you're loosening up, you might want to widen up or bring your feet a little bit closer just to play with those variations. So the first movement I'm going to do, and I will not do this nearly as well as Roseanne or Amber. This is one of my areas of weakness is range in my low back. So I like to do cat-cows by I'm pulling my pelvis forward and I'm arching my body up like I'm a puppet, like someone's pulling me by a string. Hold that for 2 to 3 seconds. Come the other way. And we're going to try and touch the back of our head to our butt. We want to make a U shape. As I said, I know you don't see it well on me, but it's there. And then reverse. You could do 3 to 4 reps of these or just sort of gauge what feels comfortable. I wouldn't say you need more than a minute or 2 in this exercise. If you do find you've got tension more so on one side than the other, feel free to shift your weight into one side more than the other. Play with your angles. The more you wiggle around and the more you kind of play with your positions, the more you learn how to send the vibration and guide it to get it where you want to feel it. Feel free to experiment within these guidelines. The very last exercise I want to show you is awesome, amazing. People all the time comment to me, oh, I didn't know that you could massage your back on a machine. You absolutely can, but you require 2 little things. The range of motion piece we talked about for the prior exercise, but we're going to get a little bit more down on the ground, and you're going to require either your upper body or maybe an aerobic step or a plyo block, something to hold your upper body up off the ground. So if you are dealing with a trouble back and range of motion isn't there, this would, in my opinion, be an advanced massage. I know it's hard to believe there's such a thing, but there is. And once you see me in the position, you'll understand why. Some of you may have tried this already. When I'm doing massage of any kind, I like to hit it at the mid, high end frequency or speed ranges. It's when you're standing on a machine, it's a very different feeling doing a weight bearing exercise than something passive like a massage where you're just relaxed. So for this one, you can start however you need to, but I'll show you what it looks like. I like to get myself seated on the machine. I always have the buttons between my legs because when you lay down, you don't want to be turning buttons off or speeding it up or speeding it down. I cover it up with my mat, the buttons. I come down on my forearms and I kind of wiggle down just to the top of that muffin top, that tire that's going around the low back. So for my guys, if you are dealing with low back issues or strain or pain, this isn't meant to be a sit-up or a big workout. It's just to massage the low back. So by leaving your feet on the floor, you're going to feel it slightly in the low back and the lumbar, primarily the glutes. To get a little bit deeper, you want to lift your legs up, and you'll feel the small of your back kind of just gets pushed into the edge of that machine. From there, if the tension's on one side more than another, you can lean over on one hip, lean the other way. I like to put my legs up in the air. Gets a little bit more mass. Stretch my calves and my hamstrings at the same time. Okay, if you are exercising, nothing's saying you couldn't throw in a crunch or two while you're there. But this is something that you may find is a good warm-up prior to other activities. It might be a good wind down. But I do recommend if you are dealing with back issues and you get relief from any of the exercises I've outlined today, don't just leave it till you have a problem. There's an ounce of prevention. There's a saying. And if you know what your weaknesses are and you know what your trouble areas are, adding an exercise or two from this, selection today might be that little bit of extra that just keeps it away on the preventative side. So just to recap very quickly, we started in a standing position just with some light pelvic tilts or circular movements to loosen up those hips, that low lumbar area. Then we progressed to a standing low back position. With this one, you may not see it with these pants, but you want the knees just unlocked. You do not want to lock your legs, just unlocked. And you're going to about a 45-degree angle, and you'll feel the movement in that low back. If range of motion allows and you want to go a little further, spot yourself with a stool or the edge of a counter, perhaps. If your range of motion totally allows, you could touch your toes. I just want to make sure that you're stable. The second variation was a cat-cow. So range of motion, as I stated earlier, many of us can get down on the ground. It's the getting up when we start having challenges. So you want to get on the machine with your knees. You're going to place your hands on the floor in front of the machine. You can go through some dynamic movements. You can shift left or right. And remember, when you're on here with your knees, you'll want to put some padding on it, and you're always in control. So if you do have a sensitive back, bring the knees closer together, see how it feels, then widen up to be comfortable. If you're dealing with chronic issues, I always recommend being more conservative. You're not going to get more benefit by just being more aggressive in your situation. Bring it up to a mid-speed range or a little bit slower on this one. And a minute or two on any of these exercises, as much as 3 if you're a bit more of a seasoned user. The very last one was a lower back massage, lumbar region. This one's also great if you're working on skin tone, if you've got lymph issues. You just want to make sure on this one, like I say, you've got some upper body strength and you've got the ability to get yourself back up off the ground. So you're just getting on sort of that, not the mid back, but the top of the muffin top, the tire, whatever you may refer it to it as. You can put your feet up and have a stretch. Experiment, wiggle with your angles, play around, and learn how to use these devices to direct the vibration to the areas you're trying to target. We're all a little bit different in not only our body type, but in our sensitivities and our tolerances. So there's never an exact speed or foot distance. I know that some of you ask me for that black and white guideline, but it really is a feeling, and it's going to vary for everyone. day to day. And especially if you're dealing with chronic issues, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. So, the sooner you learn to adapt, evolve, and experiment with these machines, the sooner you're going to realize they're not only your workout machine, but they're a very viable self-care tool once you kind of get a little experience in the self-care part. So these are great exercises, like I say, to add on to your existing routine, especially if you're a dad or a guy in general that's dealing with back issues. Today was about deals for dad. And I do find that, whether it's picking up kids or, picking up poop from the dog, there tends to be a very common low back issue with a lot of my guys. So I hope some of these tips offered you not only some ways to use your existing machine more effectively, but some ways to improve the back long term. Consistency is the key. So doing these things regularly is the best way to be effective. I had some other recommendations for dads. I think that Lauren has dropped a link. Before I get into some other recommendations, I just want to see who's here to see me today. Hello, Christine. Interesting information, even if you're not looking for a deal for dad. Yes, I could talk for weeks and weeks. There's no endless, I guess, pool of information. I've just been doing this very, very long time. And, sometimes even me, I'll get on a machine and I'll do a machine, I'll be outlining a session and, I'll do this kind of exercise. And sometimes I don't do all of these moves all the time. I'm very short but sweet. Most of my workouts are more frequent, short, intense, kind of like a HIIT style training. So if I'm exercising, I do legs every day, early in the day, because I'm getting up there and I like that metabolism boost. For any of my guys, my dads, if we're lacking energy, fatigue's an issue, a minute or two, really, whenever you need, is a great way to oxygenate the blood, relieve tension, get some mental clarity going. So I love the vibration machines for that. But perhaps you don't have the ability to carry one around in your pocket all day. So on the deals for dad, I'm going to get Lauren to drop a link to that if we don't have that here already. There's a good event going on this week. Lots of different ideas for dads. Some of you may own Lifepro's tools now. Today was a little bit of information about a vibration plate, but I wanted to feature a couple of other things that I enjoy and a lot of my dads enjoy. And I was laughing about this morning because I've got a few different massage guns, but the one I'd like to recommend today for my dads is the Dyna Mini. And I don't know if any of you use a massage gun now. The Dyna Mini, opposite reason I talk about this with women, even though it's a little gun, the grip on this one is an all steel grip. There's no cushion or foam like there is on the Sonic or some of the other models. And if you're dealing with hand tension, if you're a delivery driver or, sometimes you just deal with this chronic carpal tunnel and you start dealing with numbness and sensation. And some of that develops from vibration, but it's a completely different type of vibration than the therapeutic stuff we're dealing with here. And just holding on to this little gun, a couple, 3 times when you start feeling, coldness or aches and pains is an awesome way to kind of do the same thing the machine does, but in a localized area. And the first time a couple weeks ago, I gave a couple of these away to family for Christmas. In the case, this thing is really, it's almost smaller than a shaving kit. And it fits good in most truck glove boxes. So guys don't carry purses. My dad, I always joke, my husband got married so that he'd have a purse. Me, some of my girlfriends and my sisters, and I joke about that. I'll put this in your purse, put the keys in my purse. And, this is a little, I've already got my own stuff in my purse, but this fits nicely in a glove box. So, with a lithium battery, tension on the go, whether it's the low back, the hands, the neck, this is a great little kit. It comes with a few different attachments and a long life lithium battery. So, sometimes basic is best. And like I said, what I do like about this one is not only does it fit in the glove box of my truck, but it's also a nice transfer if you are at the office, you're sitting at the desk, you're taking it to the gym. Sometimes you just need to invest the mindfulness, a little bit of time in thinking about, how can I make what I'm doing better for myself and live on as long as we can, as effectively as we can. So, we have sometimes these tools at home, but we don't always think about incorporating them as easily as they can be. The other tool that I wanted to highlight today was the dumbbell. If you're not working with weights now and you are improving your back situation, if that's a concern, but I've had a lot of guys this year. I think the last couple of years has been not only a food fest, but an inactivity fest for many of us. And, weights are not going to make you big and bulky and massive. You got to lift with a lot of technique and a lot of weight over years. And there's a whole food piece. It's not, you don't get on a vibration machine and become this big bulky person. A lot of my women think that, but some of my guys do want to bulk up. They want to gain a little bit of mass. They want to add more. I'm talking about the 55-pound power. I got my notes. I had it all screwed up here. I was going to be all smooth. The PowerFlow Pro dumbbell. I've got the 55-pound set here today, which is going to be enough for most guys. What I want you to think about, if you're incorporating weight on a platform, and because I'm talking to guys and dads today, your plate has a weight capacity. So your weight capacity should not be exceeded by the combination of your weight and whatever you're adding to your body. So if you are looking at, bulking up a little bit, sometimes I like to add weight to add some more mass and some definition. Adding weight is also a great way to just get to faster fatigue, burn some more calories while you're doing it. You're not always doing it to bulk up. So I'm going to just go with a moderate 15 pounds. And all I'm going to do is whatever I would normally do. So maybe I'm doing my pelvic tilt. Maybe I'm doing my toe touch. Maybe I'm doing something meaner and I'm doing a squat. Adding weights to whatever you're doing with your standing exercises on the plate is a super awesome way to bring down those workout times. I know a lot of you like to work out for long durations, but many of us are very busy and sometimes we don't get to it even though we have the best of intentions because of the time investment. So if you've got these things at home and you want to kill yourself and be done in 5 minutes, you can. Just make your positions challenging for you and get yourself to done. Unless you're building for endurance or long distance type activities, there is a place for cardio training. But if your goal is weight loss, you're looking to build strength and bone density, 99% of what you'd like to be accomplishing can be done with resistance training, weights. We've heard this before. And a vibration plate is just a less impact, almost more effective environment to practice some of those exercises for the same results in less time. So the end of my pitch. But I'm really enjoying these. They're not taking up a lot of real estate. They are on the Dad's Deals gift guide. So I thought I would highlight those. And if you've never worked with weights before, keep it simple, or if you're really looking for some help with your technique, there's lots of good trainers out there, whether that be online or looking at some of the videos that have been done here with Lifepro with some of these accessories. But, you don't have to do a lot of movement. The point of what I was showing you today was just to get stronger, burn some more calories, get to fatigue faster, and just holding a weight statically in many of the positions you're doing now is a good way to mix it up without having to learn a whole bunch of new exercises. So that's the end of my ramble. I do encourage you, Dad's Day, Father's Day, however you celebrate it is this upcoming Sunday. Lifepro's got a whole bunch of different things, some really affordable options online. I'd be here for 3 hours with the way I talk if I were to highlight everything that I liked. But your dad, your significant other, whoever you're looking at shopping for this weekend, give them the gift of moving and feeling better, and check out some of the deals that Lifepro has online. I'm going to check here to see. Oh, hello, Diane. Is this machine good for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? I would say yes for a number of reasons. It's not about a machine being good or suited well for a specific position. Or condition. It's more, Diane, specifically, I might have 50 people with the same condition, but they're all physically in very different places, different level of health and conditioning, different nutrition and diets. So there's a little bit more to the recipe there. What a vibration machine is an environment that makes any exercises you are doing or supposed to be doing easier. And one of the big things, if you are dealing with that type of a condition, fatigue is going to be a big issue for you. Boosting detoxification is going to be a win. Boosting lymph circulation, all those things that you can get through traditional exercise and movement, but in less time and more results. So, really, Diane, for you, it would depend on where physically you're starting and what your individual goals are. But yes, it's absolutely not a contraindicator. If this is a recent diagnosis and you're going through some detoxification, vibration plates can be an awesome complement to ramp up the effects of that. Not only, I'm going to be very candid, Diane, not only on a physical level, but a lot of my clients dealing with medical concerns, oh heck, even recovery conditions, it's the mental. They just make you feel good. And if that's all you get out of use, it's moving and feeling better progresses to more positive things. So if I were to say, on a personal note, dealing with lots of different medical conditions, some very, very severe, if you have something that allows you to move where other traditional activities just aren't suited, or you're unable to, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised with what a vibration machine might offer. So food for thought. What else? Interesting information, even if you're not looking for dad. Yes, I saw that, Christine. Well, if anyone else is out there today listening to me ramble on a Monday and you have questions, today we went over some deals for dad. There's way too many to talk about. Just when you thought the deals couldn't get any better, they did for Father's Day. That is this coming Sunday, so you got lots of time to take a look and see what's in store there. Today we went over 3 ways that you can improve your back as a dad or a guy in general, and I hope you found some new moves to throw into your arsenal. So thank you for joining me today. And if you've got any other questions, or you're watching this on the recorded side after the fact, feel free to just tag me in the comments and I will get back to you with a response. And as always, if you have other ideas or other things you'd like to hear me ramble about, please let me and Lauren know what you'd like me to talk about. I could talk, as you know, forever. You're welcome, Diane. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your support. And keep those questions coming. Sometimes, when I give you an answer, it actually sparks another question, or you don't think about it till after the fact because you're still winding down from your head spinning listening to me. So bring those questions. There's no such thing as a hard question. I've been doing this too long. Although it may take me some time to get you a proper answer, I do my very best. If there's not a scientific one, fortunately, 9 times out of 10, I've got the personal experience behind my belt. So I'm happy to address those for you. Thanks so much, Lauren and Superdog, all of behind the scenes. And I look forward to seeing you guys again very soon with another live next Monday. And of course, it's escaping my brain, but I am always here Mondays at 4:30 Mountain Standard Time, which is my time zone, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, 3:30 Pacific. Have a great week, and don't work too hard on your Monday.